Hi everyone, can you hear me? Just testing. You can write down in the chat. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Lori. Great. So I'm gonna wait a couple of minutes, okay? And we start. Hello, Adrian, Lori, Tuija, Pepperine. Hello. It's great to have you all here. It's quite early in Santiago, and I'm not sure what time is where you are based. I'm very excited. This is the first free webinar I do, so quite excited. Wow, 4 p.m. in Belgium. Great. And quite warm, right? Seven p.m. Wow, Lottie. That's a great effort you're making. So, 10 a.m. here in Chile, off we go. Eagles River, Alaska. Wow, that's far away. We're really in the opposite corners of the world. Okay. Hi everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Florencia. I am from Chile. I am a designer and I am also the founder of a pin loom weaving brand called Ullvuna, in which the main goal is to inspire and promote creativity to everyone as a life tool, as a life right hand that we'll need, okay, to be to solve problems, to be more free in our lives, to develop more abilities, etc. So that is the purpose of my brand, why I do this. And today I'm gonna, as the first free webinar I do, I want to teach you something very specific, maybe, but interesting for the ones that already know how to do pin loom weaving, okay, because will be something interesting to make more of what you already know, okay? So this is adapting 4x4 pin loom inches pin loom squares to larger size, 3 times larger, okay? So you should know, and in case you don't, that pin looms are simply frames or surfaces of different geometric shapes in which you can weave, okay? You can weave in different ways. You can weave, you can do bias weaving, which is making the warp and the weft at the same time. So it is a fast way of weaving. You can also weave in trios, which means you make several layers of warp and then you weft. And you can also use the traditional method, which is first warping with a thin cotton cord, and then you make the weft, okay, which is mainly the way you make the tapestries that you put in the wall, okay? So 4x4 pin loom squares are mainly pin looms in which you weave in trios, as I was saying, as the Zoom loom. This is a commercial brand, which is called Zoom loom, in case you don't know it. So you have to make several layers of warp, maybe 2 or 3, and then you make the weft. So this is quite popular. In Actually, it has like many decades, okay, but this brand made this fresh new product based on this technique. So it has like a rebirth, I would say, and a lot of people are using it. So I focused on it like 7 years ago to make my first book, which is based in this pin loom, and then I make 2 more. So I have made, I have designed maybe 15 or between 15 or 17 different stitch patterns for this pin loom, which is quite interesting because you can make different like figures. You can play with the depth with different motifs. It's like a weaving embroidery, I would call it. Okay, so it's quite versatile. It has really endless possibilities. And these are the books. Maybe you know any of them, so you already know what I'm talking about. You have the Zoom loom, right? So this is 100 pin loom squares, the first I did, which has 4x4 inches patterns, and also projects to make by joining several woven squares. Then you have this one I self-published, which is so yes, in Spanish, but I have the English version, which is 30 patterns and has 30 patterns, of course. But in this case, I have more motifs, like, for example, animals, leaves, things like that. The first one was more like geometric. And now the one I published, I released this like 7 months ago, something like that, and has, as the first book, patterns and also projects, okay, by joining all those squares. So then I said, okay, this is so interesting, but it is, as it has a certain technique, it is difficult just to take it and apply it to a larger pin loom, okay? Difficult because you have to scale the pattern, okay? And not all the patterns are easy to be scaled. So I thought, what if we find a way to make to weave not in trios, okay, in a different way, but apply those interesting patterns I have in these books to a larger pin loom. So I have several pin looms, which are the most regular ones, with equal distance between pins, okay? That is what you need to adapt these patterns. Why? Because, I will repeat it, if you just try to scale these patterns to a larger loom, you have to redesign that pattern. The interesting thing I want to show you is that you can use the same pattern you are using for this pin loom for a larger one. In this case, we're going to use a 12 by 12 inches pin loom, okay? And the requirement is, first, the size, okay? In this case, so you can make exactly the thing I am doing, but specifically, you need to have 31 nails, because in this pin loom, you have 31 rows, okay, to weave for the warp and the weft. So first requirement, your pin loom needs equal distance between pins, number one, and second, you need 31 rows. I mean, on each side, 31, 31, 31, okay? So for that purpose, I have the Kayu that I know a few of you already know. I'm gonna read all the chat comments later, okay? In this case, I have 31 on each side, the Kayu, okay, which is a board that has multiple holes in which you can choose the shape and size you want, arrange the pins, and weave it, okay? So the example on how to adapt the 4x4 inches pin looms pattern, I'm going to show it over the Kayu, okay? But of course, you can make your own, like this one I was showing you, with pin boards, or you can simply build it by your own, on your own. Okay, in this YouTube channel I also have a few videos that you can follow to build your own. Okay, remember, requirement number one, equal distance between pins, has to be a square, of course. Okay, we are adapting from a square to another square. And the second one is 31 pins or nails, so you can make 31 rows of warp and 31 rows of weft. Okay, right. So that said, I said, okay, let's try that, but we'll have another problem. We we will not be working in trios, right? We'll be working as the simple weaving, which means one layer of warp and then weft, as simple as that. Okay, not several layers. But the other thing is that the distance between these pins is definitely very different than the distance between these pins. Okay, in this case, you use yarns number 4, which are worsted or DK. Okay, generally. But in this case, if you use those, this won't work. The woven piece will be too loose, damaged when you put it off the loom already. Okay, it won't be useful at all. So what I needed to do is making a thicker yarn. So I did a few tests that I want to show you of that. So many things around. Okay, there. And I said, okay, I just randomly chose a pattern from my last book. I said, okay, I'm gonna try it in the Kayu, the same pin loom I was showing you. I tried it over here, and I tried it just using a mix of bulky and multi-bulky yarn. Okay, number 6 from the craft yarn classification, because usually the Kayu is for that kind of yarn. Okay, so I just used that, but I used a bulky, double bulky, and then super bulky for weft and warp, and try it out. And okay, it works, but I won't say, I think it's a bit loose and just useful for certain things, like maybe a shawl, something that won't be not, that doesn't has a daily use, like a cushion, for example, which is my my most common example. Okay, because when you have a cushion, you need it to be quite resistant. Okay, because everyone is going to sit over it, etc. So you need a dense mesh. Okay, a mesh woven piece. So okay, I like it, but I think it can be like a shawl for me, for my bedroom. So anyone so I avoid anyone to damage it. Okay, or maybe just a shawl for me again, not garments for kids. Okay, because it will be easily damaged. See the holes here. So it was a first test I made. Okay, there's another thing I don't like, that, for example, when you use this double yarn and you have the loose stitches, okay, those large stitches that you usually make in the pin loom, in this case, they are not straight. Okay, they don't look perfect. Take a look at that one. So it doesn't look as a well crafted piece, looks like a mistake, or that I have to iron it. Don't iron it. Okay, so I said, okay, this was test number 1, and I tried a second one. What did I do? I triple the yarn here of the warp in this case, and I double. I'm not sure if which one was. In any case, if I had simple and double, then I had double and triple. Okay, I have written all this story in the blog. Okay, so I put the blog here in any case. So you can read it carefully. And in case I am missing anything, okay? But in this case, what happened? Take a look. So I have this one is quite loose, the first one, and then the second one is more dense, more thick. I like it. I don't think it will work as a shawl because maybe it's too dense. It looks more like a bed runner maybe, or maybe a pot holder, something like that. And but still, take a look. Still, I had this not straight stitches, okay, which I personally don't like. I don't know what about you. But when you start exploring these things, you start being like obsessed with things or too perfectionist, okay, which happened to me. So I like that is thick, that is more dense, that I don't have any spaces, that is less delicate than the first one, but I wasn't satisfied at all yet, so I made a third one. And what is the interesting about the thing about the third one? I said, okay, what about if I make my own thick yarn? I don't use multiple strands anymore, okay, because in this case you're using double yarn of bulky, but maybe you can use a number DK yarn and use 5, 6 strands, okay? You can use, of course, more strands, but of thinner yarn. That's another option. But this problem that I was showing you of these stitches not straight will happen all the time when you're using multiple strands. So I said, okay, I want to make my own yarn. So my friend from Germany, Sandra, showed in the we have a Facebook group in which you're very welcome to belong, okay, to join us. She said, "Oh, I tried a meal, okay, a knitting meal, and I made my own yarn. So I bought that meal and try it out. That will be another chapter, okay? I don't want to show you that in this moment, but I will write it down in the blog and look at what she did. She used only um, leftovers of decay, worsted, or even thinner yarn that she had at home. She also did knots to join them, okay, no problem, and made something like this. So here you have your own cord or super bulky, okay, so you don't have to use multiple strands. You can use this, you can compare it here, and it will definitely give another look to the woven piece. That is something you can try. Okay, but what I did, I made my own thick yarn in order to avoid using multiple strands by crocheting it. Okay, so here I have an example. You can make a row of chains simply, or a double chain. Okay, you can try out alternatives. And that is how I made the third sample. I said, okay, I don't like again the way the stitches, the long stitches look, not straight, but also it happens it happens that I think it looks too repetitive, to the same all the time. You have the blue stitches and the yellow ones, and they look like massive. I don't think the pattern is showing off, okay? So I said I'm gonna try this, but mixing ways of having a thicker yarn. So this is the third sample. I used a crochet yarn, a thicker one, okay, right here in the ochre, and I used double yarn with the purple one. Okay, so I not only had a thicker piece, and I didn't have that problem of stitches. Yes, maybe the purple ones are not completely straight, okay, but it's not noticeable as it was, because in this case, they are not all the stitches not straight, just a few ones, just the purple ones. So it doesn't seem like a problem to me, okay? When you look at the second one and you see that all the stitches look long and not straight, It's more annoying, I would say. Like it bothers me when I take a look at it. But in this case, just a few of them. And also, as I have a contrast between the crochet yarn and the double yarn, okay, it has like an interesting effect. Okay, looks like I had made like a different stitch here. Okay, of course have a depth, okay, different depth, thicker one. I don't think it's flexible enough for a shawl, but you can always combine it with another woven pieces. For example, let's say I will make a scarf with this one, so I need several woven squares, right? So maybe I will make the ones in the extremes with this technique, okay, adapting patterns from 4 by 4 inches spin looms to the Kayu to 12 by 12 inches spin looms. But then the rest of the body of this scarf will be simply purple, okay, and bias weaving, right? So you can mix these things and have the best of each. I use for the extremes these thicker pieces, but then for the body that has to be more foldable, more flexible, you can use bias weaving and use a solid color, the ochre or the yellow or the purple. Okay, you can mix this piece with others because also when you contrast this with a solid color one, okay, this one will be more special, okay, more noticeable. You will be highlighting it, okay. So if you make, for example, a bed runner and all the pieces are made like this, in some point it would lose this effect. It won't be as interesting as when you look as one single piece. So mixing solid pieces with simple stitches as the bias weaving with these more complex ones that also take more work because you have to make your own yarn is quite interesting. But I think I'm gonna show you this in another example. I want to make a project in which I mix the stitches, the complex ones, with more simple pieces, solid colors, bias weaving. Okay, so you can see how they complement perfectly. Okay, so I have, yes, I showed you this, that I have the yarn I made with this was bulky yarn, and then I crocheted, okay, a simple row of a chain of crochet chain, and then I showed you these ones, okay, and the ones with a needle mill. Then you can okay, there's another example, the one that I'm going to show you in a project. Okay, I'm going to show you how I made it, in which I used I showed you this, have too many samples around. It is um, it is you will be crocheting your own yarn, but a bit thicker. Okay, I don't know if you know this technique, but for example, I have here, I'm going to show it to you so you can try it out, because I think it's better than just making a chain of a row of chain, a crochet chain. Okay, how much crochet or mill? Yes, I think I'm going to measure the one I have and let you know. Okay, but I think I'm going to send a mailing with all these details I talked to you about and your questions to answer them in there, so you have the greeting answers for your records. Okay, so take a look at this. I'm gonna make the slip knot. Okay, a crochet knot to start with. I make a turn, then I put my fingers inside and just take the shorter one, pull it, and that's it. Okay, so I have that, and then I make 2 crochet chains. Okay, 1, 2, and when I make the second, I have to take the loop above, but not of the first one, of the second. I take it, pull it up, take the yarn and pass both. So I'm gonna make it this side. Okay, are you looking at it? So I have to take, you have here 2 loops, right? You take the second one, then take the yarn, pass it through, and then you have 2 loops. Take the yarn and pass both. So take a look at what I have. I have like a crochet chain, but thicker, okay? That is a technique quite interesting, the one that I also used in the example I'm gonna show you, but I want you to try it out. So again, I have here, take a look, 2 loops. I take the one that is farthest, okay? 1, 2, I take that one, pass the crochet, take the yarn, pass it through, then I have 2 loops, take the yarn and pass it through both. Has to be more loose, okay? Because I have to, again, number 1, number 2, pass the crochet, take the yarn, pass it through, and when I have those 2, take the yarn and pass it through. Again, pass 1, take the yarn, I have 2, take the yarn, pass it through 2. So it's not perfect because I need it to be more loose, and I'm concentrating in showing you, but you get the idea. I'm going to show you a last one. I'm going to make this more loose. Okay, so that's it. You have 1, 2. I take the one that is farthest, take the yarn, pass it through 1. I have 2, and then I take the yarn and pass it through both. Pass it through, take the yarn, and then take both, pass it through. That is more or less. Okay, I can show you, I can send you a picture of that, won't be a problem. But I have used it to make my own yarn. I think it's better than just the simple crochet chain, okay? So I showed you the examples, the way I adapted the 4x4 pin loom patterns I did in my books to simply a 12 by 12 inches pin loom in which the distance between the pins is equal, okay? So it's a very simple pin loom that you can make on your own, remember, as this one I made with spare materials at home, okay, with pin boards, very simple. You can find the video on my YouTube channel, okay. But the important thing is that your pin requires, okay, 31 pins or nails, so you can make 31 rows of warp and 31 rows of weft, okay, 31, 31, 31, whatever. So I made the examples that I showed to you, and I was quite satisfied with the third one, in which I mixed using double strands and using the crochet row. This crochet row, I did it with the last method I just showed you with the turquoise yarn, okay? So what I do usually is that I use the crochet yarn for the warp, and then for the weft, I use double or simple yarn, but bulky, okay? Jumbo, those kinds of. And now I want to show you an example. So this is the Kayu, and I have already made the warp layer, okay? And I want to show you how I did it. Okay, so I did a crochet row, just the way I showed you with the turquoise yarn is the same, and I just positioned, so it was here, right here. I started right here, and I just positioned the knot, the first knot in which I started the crochet chain, in the corner pin, and then I pulled the yarn tight, and I pulled it up and grabbed the second pin, and then I was skipping one pin in the upper edge and the lower edge, always skipping one, okay? But it's very simple. You don't need to know by memory which one you have to warp. The important thing is that you have 31 rows, as simple as that. So start in one corner, okay? Just enter the loop of the knot there and then start pulling tight, going up, down, up, down, skipping one pin, and then you will get to the opposite corner. And what I did there, I just take a look position, just one of the loops, okay, to stop it there. You don't have to make knots, just use the loops of the crochet row, as simple as that. So when I finished, could you use the crochet yarns for warp and weft? Of course you can, but it will be as this example. I think that you have too much crochet here, so no one, no the weft or the warp will show off, I think, okay? Because you have too much crochet, looks too textured. So the interesting thing about the third sample is that I had a double yarn and then the opposite or a contrast with was the crochet yarn. So that makes the woven piece looks more interesting. But of course you can do that and try it out. And maybe you can make one yarn, the weft, for example, with a crochet chain, the simple one, and the other one with the double crochet chain that I have already shown you. Okay, so maybe you will have like a thinner warp and then a thicker weft. Yes, you can try that out, of course. So in this case, as I told you, I use like the double chain crochet. And okay, so I started in one knot right here and then going up, down, skipping one pin. But if you get to this point and maybe you think they are too closer, okay, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that you go up, down, okay, because you have parallel strands of yarn and that they are 31. They have to be 31 or you won't be able to fulfill the pattern, okay, because all the patterns are designed for 31 rows, okay? That is important thing. So when I finished, and when you finish, and especially when you have this crochet row, you have to start pulling it again, okay? Because as this is quite elastic, you'll see that some parts are more tight, maybe at the beginning, and here in the middle, quite loose, and then tight again. So it's important that you keep the same tension. So for that purpose, the easiest thing is just do this. If I started here, I just start pulling, for example, pulling down, and then I skip one, pull the other down, skip them, pull the other down, okay? What's this? Because I need them to be more tight, so I'll be trying to adjust them. Take a look. This is you can go by one, but this is easier, the easiest thing, just to go skipping one. Look look at what I have. This one, this one, this one, and I have a lot extra, right? A lot extra. So I keep doing this, Remember skipping one, and look what I have, a lot of extra yarn. So I go back here, I remove it, and I use that extra yarn to pull it tight again and position it in one of those loops of the crochet chain. That is the better way. Okay, so as this is quite thick, this crochet row, don't try as you usually do, making knots with the yarns and things like that. Okay, use those loops in the chain. That's it. So I'm gonna find my comb, my weaving comb here. And as this is quite thick, you need to put them to take them to the bottom, okay, to start weaving. Tension in the warp. Right, tension in the warp. That's it. That's it. That's it. So I'm gonna. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna choose the same one. I think I'm gonna choose a random pattern from my book. I can send it then to you. And I think I'll choose. This is the one I was. Wentela again is the one I was using for this example. See. I don't want to use it anymore. Too many times. Okay. Let's say maybe that one is quite simple. Don't think it's maybe that is quite simple. Let's see. If you take a look at the patterns, it's interesting to see that they show you what is going to show off, the warp or the weft, okay, depending on the stitches. For example, here, this is the warp, okay, the vertical lines. And as you can see only long vertical stitches. That means those are the ones that will be long. Okay, so if you want to have an interesting yarn that you made, a thicker yarn with weft or warp, and you're using multiple yarns with the other, try to use it in the one that you want to show off more. Okay, and in other patterns, both are the casting of the pattern. For example, in this case, yes, in this alto al sol, in this pattern, you see you have long stitches in the weft, but also long stitches in the vertical lines, the warp. Okay, so in this case, both will show off. So I think this is like, in this case, it was the same. They both were important. So I think in these cases, it's very important that you use one crocheted yarn and the other were multiple strands. You need to make a contrast, okay? So they look different and it will be more interesting. I think this pattern will be interesting to do with this example, alto al sol, okay? So I'm going to show you how do I do it. So of course, we'll be able to make just a few rows. I just want to show you how it works. And I'm going to send you this pattern in case you don't have it, so you can try it out at home and see what you get. I would love to see your results with the colors that you have chosen, the way you made your own thick yarn. Okay, I would love to see that. So I'm going to start and make this one. And I have lost a few pins because I wasn't using them. Doesn't matter. I will find them eventually. So what is interesting about variegated yarn, this is a yarn from Lion Brand Yarn, okay? In this case, is super bulky, but quite like with airy, okay? So that is why it is, when you crocheted it, you make it like thinner, okay? But doesn't usually happens with super bulky yarn, okay? Super bulky tends to be too thick. Ambulance. Okay, so variegated yarn again. The interesting thing, I think maybe I have said this in another classes, is that you have multiple colors. In this case, the most noticeable one is this skin color. Okay, this one, like sand, and then you have sparks of white, yellow, purple, cyan, and then here you have purple, fuchsia. Okay, so you can choose the one you will use for the weft, because it will be easy to combine it if you use one of them. If you use yellow, purple, white, okay, because it's already in so many places that will be easy to look as combined. Okay, so that is what I like of variegated yarn. It's easy to combine. And I think I'm gonna use yes, I have this purple one. I made a poncho that is on my blog with these two yarns, but I think I like that combination, so I'm gonna do the same. And again, I'm going to use multiple strands. In this case, as this is super bulky but airy, I think I will use double yarn, because simple one will be too, I think the result will be too loose. I don't like it to be that way. I want this to be thick, okay, firm. So, and of course, when it's thick and firm, the pattern is more noticeable, always, okay? So I'm going to use double strand of this to make the weft, okay? Warp, weft. So let's start. I am basically making the same as the third sample I showed you, okay? Double strand of weft and the crochet row for the warp. So I usually, I don't know if you're a perfectionist, or maybe you want to make something just quite perfect, but in my case I don't like to have like very big tails with a nail, okay, to make the whole weft. So I just cut the yarn, and I usually have to cut it twice to make the whole weft, okay. So I make it until I run out of yarn, and then I need thread more yarn, as simple as that. But you can calculate how much you need as measuring. You say number 1, 2, 3, 4 until 31, and then you double it, and then you have the yarn you require. You usually will have more than what you need because you tend to tension it more, okay? But I don't like doing that because I don't like to have a long tail. I think it's difficult to weft with it. So I just make a long tail, cut it, and then make as many as I need, okay? It's really up to you. So you can take a look at here. I did that. I had to make a knot. So if your piece will be a single product, will be a product itself, like a pot holder, for example, a pot holder you put on the table and put something, maybe, I don't know, a cup over it. Yes, in that case, try to make a more perfect piece by making the weft with a single, without cutting the yarn, okay? I think that is preferable. Questions, tension in the word. Yes, where can you get English translation of the book to you demonstrate? It is in English. I mean, and the Spanish version will be translated in 1 month, but the English version is already published. The names are in Spanish. The names of the stitches are places from Chile, but you can see it's in English. In my Etsy shop and my own shop. My website, I mean. Okay, so let's measure this. Oh, wow, 43 minutes. That's a lot. I thought that 1 hour will be too much to show this. So, okay, I'm going to measure half part. Okay, so let's say 15, 16 rows. I have the pin loom and say 1, 2 until 15. Okay, 3, 4, 5. And then I double it because I need it to be double. And then you usually use your 3 inches needle, okay? But I think tapestry needle is also useful because you can make more stitches at the same time, okay? Okay, say 6 inches tapestry needle, but the normal needle, it's useful in any case, okay? So don't try and run to find this needle in case you don't have it. I just use it in this case when I am making larger woven pieces. With this technique, of course. When it's bias weaving, you don't need you just need your fingers. I could have showed you just uh, just this example with a piece of yarn, okay, so it would be simple, but I want you to see that it gets tricky to 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 find the way of weaving with these long strands, okay, but you can do it. So yes, it looks hard, but it's not. But remember, I am only using the length I need for half weft, okay, not completely, so it's a lot in any case. So I started here. Doesn't really matter because you see, I just need the 31 rows. You can start from here or then turn it and start from here. Doesn't matter because that is important when you're working in trios, okay? In the Zoom loom, whatever, but not in this case at all, okay? So I'm just going to start here. Doesn't matter because in the one I started, which was this one. Okay, so if I take a look at my instructions, you usually start making just a simple weaving in the first weft row. Simple weaving, going over, under, and you always start under. Okay, so I'm going to do as simply as that. Start under and then over, over the first row. And I know you can take a look at the pattern and do it on your own, but what I want to show you is that as this is quite quite tight, you don't need to make any knots in the weft also, okay? I didn't make knots here. I just position, the loop here. But in this case, as this is already very tight, you just leave here a tail and you don't need to make any knots. Won't be a problem, okay? You don't need to 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 stop the yarn here or at the end. Only before removing it from the pin loom, okay? So I'm gonna start. So I start under and very carefully, yes, flat. Being a flat needle, of course, is better because you don't make any mistakes. But in this case, that you have a crochet yarn, it's too easy. It's very difficult. I mean, to skip any strands. It's quite easy to make them perfectly, but to be careful not to insert in the wrong place. So I made a couple of stitches, okay, and then I just leave a tail, okay, maybe 5 inches more or less, no more than that, and then I continue. It's not the ideal one because you see I need a flat the pin here needs to be flat, okay, so in case you have options, try the flat one. But works anyway. And all of them. So it's quite tricky sometimes at the end or beginning because the strands are too close, okay, when you start. But then when you have several rows, it won't be a problem. You already know which one is the one where you have to go under or over. So I'm gonna pull this. Okay, that's it. So you always, in this case, you don't have trios here or here, but it's the same as the upper and lower edges, okay? You just have to skip one pin because as you skip one pin, you will have 31 rows of weft, as simple as that, okay? Adrian, for this kind of needle weaving, I use opposite needles. They are super long and fine. Great, that is great. So take a look here. Okay, in case I think it is too, I don't know, I am scared maybe because I won't have the tension I need. Maybe you can make a knot between these two by wrapping the pin, okay? But I don't think it's necessary because you have enough tension here in the warp. So just leave it like this, won't be a problem. But what I do need to do is skipping one pin so they all have the same space in between, okay? In between the weft rows. So here I have, in my case, I have chosen to use double strands of super bulky yarn. This is like between super bulky and bulky, I would say. Okay, you have to try them out, but you usually use bulky, super bulky, one or two or three strands. It's really up to you, and you have to straighten them. That is the only thing that it's not I don't not fun, I would say, but you need to do that because that is the only way that your piece will look well handcrafted, and the effect you are trying to cause will be well done. Okay, you need to untangle them or straighten them, and then use your comb. So from there, hold it and then pull it. Okay, first row, as simple as that. So now I am gonna wrap this one, not the first one, the second, okay? And the instructions say that I have to weave 10 times. So of course, this is showing me if I go to go over or under. So if I was going under, now I have to go over, right? But remember, you don't forget to wrap the correct pin. So over, then under, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's it. 10 then says over 3, then it says wave 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, then it says over 3 again, and then weave 10. So in order to see if I'm okay, I have to count them first. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, so I weave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, it is not as difficult as you can see because I'm trying to show it to you, okay? But I usually put this in my lap, over a cushion or over a table, and it's quite comfortable and easy to do, okay? So don't be afraid in case you haven't tried this. This is a bit slow because you have to make one by one, not as bias weaving if you have already tried this on the Kayu, because bias weaving is like half the work, okay? Because you make warp and weft at the same time, and you weave one side of the loom and the other one is already woven, so it's quite fast. This one is not this technique, but it is as the seam loom, but with a larger zoom, pin loom, okay? As simple as that. So don't be scared. I'm just trying to show it to you. And I think I'm going to show you only these 2 rows. And then in the mailing with the answers that I was telling you, I'm going to show you how the result of this. And I'm going to send you the pattern also. Just a minute. Okay, so here, grabbing the pin, right? That is important to control the tension. And then entangling or aligning or straightening your threads until they get here. And then from here, okay, I have to straighten them still. But the important thing is that they go just in the same height of the pin you're weaving, okay? Maybe yes, I need to untangle them, okay? But you get the idea. And here, see, I already have a long stitch here, long stitch here. This is a symmetrical design, so I think it will be gorgeous to see the final piece. So, okay, we just have 5 minutes left. I encourage you to make this, to try it out, to make your own yarn. In another class, I'm going to show you the idea of Sandy, which was making your own yarn, which is interesting too. And other ways that we can come up with, okay? Maybe you or me or we together. That is why I wanted to send you the Facebook group so you can join. There we share where our experience with pin looms, ideas, examples, mistakes, whatever. Okay, so that is the group. In case you want to join us. And crochet yarn. Cannot name me excited. Okay, that's it. Do you have any questions to make right now? Maybe it's some details that I haven't mentioned or something that I missed. Thank you. While be watching you, the thing you crochet the part of yarn. Okay, great. That is great. That is great. Yes, it's quite addictive. I mean, at the beginning, I said, okay, I don't want to be like crocheting a whole ball, but then I was watching TV or whatever, or in the playground with my kid, and I didn't, I didn't intend to, but I just made a ball, and they are gorgeous. You can use it for multiple things, not only the pin loom, but they are quite, I don't know, different. They have a nice texture that's usable. So that's it. I am so grateful for this first class, for you being here. Will be it has been amazing. I want to make this more often, of course. So if you have any ideas of what you would like to know further, because I have pattern tools, books, whatever, but I don't know sometimes what is better to do, more patterns or try or make videos, or maybe, for example, once I had the suggestions of making printable color combinations. I said, why? Because I thought anyone wanted to make their own color combinations, but happened to not be real. Okay, everyone wanted to make to have options to look at. So if you have any suggestions that maybe I'm not seeing, they will be very welcome. Okay. So that's it. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in another occasion. Thanks. That's all I want to say. Thanks for being here, and I want to see your final pictures, of course, your resulting pieces. Bye bye. Not correct. I don't know if yes, I put it the correct. I don't know if it changed something because it's the same as appears here. I don't know if YouTube changed something of the address because I'm just pasting it. You can look for the Ullvuna community on Facebook, and you will find it in any case. Okay, community. Sorry, the Ullvuna community. The Ullvuna community, and you will find it. Okay, or the links are in my webpage, of course, and blog, and here in YouTube too. Okay, so nice to having you here, and we'll see you in another occasion. Bye bye.